subscribe, and ring the bell to never miss an update. Hello everyone! We're going new places together. Today on Lady Mary Bath, getting a first look at the new Brenham Antique Center, located on Main Street in downtown Brenham, Texas. This building was originally an office supply that provided goods for many Texas universities. This antique mall is giving new purpose to antique and vintage finds. Join me. I'm excited to give you an inside look of the Brenham Antique Center. They have now opened for business in a much anticipated grand opening. There were 150 shoppers wrapped around the store, and there are lots of treasures inside, vintage, antiques, and a lot that you could add to your home decor and some great items for gifting as well. And I will tell you all about it with some interesting history. Welcome to the Brenham Antique Center. The grand opening is September 14th. The best of the best antique dealers from all around have brought their wares to fill this shop full of treasures. Antiques are a great way to add character and carefully curate your space with a bonus bit of history. Let's have a look at the store. Brenham is the home of Bluebell ice cream. There's lots to do. I encourage you to come out and spend the day and enjoy lunch in the downtown area and shop for fine French antiques in this booth with a reproduction altar, fine furnishings, copper pots, which are becoming more and more popular. I'll tell you more about the history of these. And also some fabulous glassware with a bit of chinoiserie as well. And I did hear from some viewers who shopped their grand opening and purchased these cranberry glasses. I think they only bought several, so there are more for you there, hopefully. Presented nicely on a silver-plated gallery tray. I love that design. That is the perfect color. I can see this for so many seasons, priced at $20 per glass. And goblets are practical, especially the deep shape. I quite like that. And I will put the store's information in the video description. You can always give them a call. These are some very petite chairs, $449 with lots of gold. I was glad to be able to test out these chairs. You may have seen the social media post. If you have just a spot in your house for that, it's a Louis XVI with a rose-colored marble top and gilt. These are tea caddies. I have never seen anything like this. And the seller tells us a bit of the history. They are from Samson. And I did some research, and I do believe that that is the case. With a great history there. These are from the 1800s, hand painted. The double happiness in the chinoiserie balances out a table nicely to have two of those ginger jars. And this beautiful table has a bit of a Queen Anne influence there with the Sema legs. That's where the convex and concave form a perfect union. Very graceful shape there. And some hand carving. A Louis XV, and that's 1800. And a style that you will see just down the road at the big antiques fair. I'll tell you more about it. This antique French sideboard is a great example of an on-trend style of bleaching. and that is to remove the varnish for a more rustic look, which is fitting with the Texas and farmhouse style, and the wood tone blends better with the mid-century as well. You find lots of these pieces just down the road in Round Top. Our Round Top Antiques Guide and Map will be out next week. I encourage you to pop in and grab a copy. This French sideboard would look lovely in many areas of your home. It is priced at $2,850. And let's see what is cooking over here on this interesting table. You will see this with some of the well-known Round Top sellers. Copper is popular. A set of 5 graduated pots that are nesting for $350. And a lot of these vendors do travel to France to procure these copper pots because they are harder to find here. And there are many reasons you should be using these. I'll tell you more about that. $120 for this one with the brass handles. In 1700s France, culinary tools were in demand. French craftsmen produced high-quality copper cookware, and even pieces that are 200 years old can be enjoyed today. Copper is a better heat conductor for even cooking, and certainly prized by chefs today. I wanted to point out a way to tell the difference between a French and an English copper pot. You'll see that handle attachment is a triangular shape and it's a bit rounded. With an English piece, you would see sharp edges. These copper pots remind me of Mrs. Patmore's kitchen in the series Downton Abbey, and they are definitely on trend again. Now we're going to see some mid-century finds. And I like that the vendors bring something unique to the Antique Center, representing different eras and styles. We have lots of artwork here. And everything is beautifully arranged. You can imagine this in your living space, down to the cowboy boots. And I see a collie. And hints of Texas here. Our sesquicentennial, I remember that well, 1986. Lots of unique details here to create your story. It's mid-century central, where you can accent your home with items from the 60s and 70s, like this Savoy vase that has 24-karat gold. It was a simple, functional time with an optimistic outlook to the future. Grape clusters are very mid-century. You probably remember some that we found at KT Antiques that I picked up from my friend Mark. They're a wonderful addition to your display. And this is one of my favorite finds in the store. Let's take a look at this artwork. I think you will be surprised at the materials used to make this. Lots of great finds. We see a lot of grape clusters from the mid-century, and this is a nice accent for fall or any time of the year. And I also wanted to point out this very special piece of art made with butterfly wings. That's something that you would have seen more in the mid-century, including the butterfly trays, and they've got a great example of this art priced at $165. A beautiful bouquet. A trio of these gold vases would make quite an impact as a centerpiece, or perhaps if you have 3 separate tables, if you're hosting an event. And they are from Savoy, hand decorated in 24-karat gold, a great example of mid-century craftsmanship. The gold pairs beautifully with the Imari, and you'll see those brass elements as well. Perfect for fall. I've shared tips on table settings for the season and a previous visit to Heights Antiques on Yale. And the more silver or platinum look would go well with winter. They've got something for every taste and style, even within one era. Those are really neat pieces of art. I like that. Here we have some grape clusters that you saw often in the mid-century, and great ideas for creating a look on a bookshelf or side table, and a pair of perfectly placed lamps, and incredible artwork, including one brass piece from Home Interiors. I remember that well from the 1970s. And yellow was also very popular. It was sunny and bright, and the pair of lamps would be carrying out that mid-century look. And it would go very nicely with Chinoiserie. And you could tuck one of these brass pieces neatly into a side table or even a centerpiece for an accent. This is priced at $75. On a marble base. I like that seagull. And I had not seen coasters that are the Florentine style. You've seen the trays that we featured. I love that color combination. And man's best friend. We also see a lot of collie art and collectibles in the mid-century, and that's because the Lassie TV show debuted in 1954. It was quite popular. I grew up with collies, and my Robbie looked very much like this. Great piece of art. It's never too early to shop for Christmas. That's when you can find some of the most unique items for home decor and gifting. And perhaps you have a collection. The stockings are all hung. Let's take a look. The happiest time of the year is all year long in this booth with lots of Christmas finds. This Santa blow mold is from Empire, made in 1968. Lots of great Christmas decor. Let's take a look. Blow molds are highly collectible. I've shared the history of these in a previous visit to August Antiques. And there's some great seasonal blow molds that you can add to your collection. I do like that tabletop size. And they do have some new gifts as well. If you have a friend that doesn't enjoy antiquing, bring them along. And there's another section that they can find some perhaps Christmas gifts in or something to add to their home decor. And here is the biking Santa. Looks like his knapsack is full. $156 for this original Karen Didion. This crocheted tree caught my interest. I do like this, and the price is right. For $20, this crocheted Christmas tree would be a nice addition to your decor, sideboard, centerpiece. There is actually a town in Alaska if you're looking for the Christmas spirit all year long, and that is in, no surprise, North Pole. And Main Street is called Santa Claus Lane, and the poles are striped like candy canes. Sounds like a great place to visit. We will find some more vintage and antique items, but I wanted to give you another look at Christmas and some of the offerings they have. The Advent calendar is well priced and would make a great gift for a family member, priced at $24. And of course, that's a tradition you could incorporate. And jewelry tucks nicely inside any of these drawers. Could get creative with fun additions. It reminds me of something I would see in Germany, in the Black Forest. And a lot of Santas are collected, and perhaps there's a certain style or brand that you are looking for. I recently found some Santas at Still Good Consignment. You probably saw that on social media, from Waterford Crystal. And that's definitely a fun addition. This Santa Express is a Karen Didion original, and there are several in this booth. It's priced at $245. These are highly collectible, and some can be rather hard to find. Lots of great detail here. This is the first of several unique finds that I will share with you today. Not a mainstream item that you see in most antique malls. It does have an interesting history and perhaps brings you back to another time. You probably don't expect to find a 1940s cigarette vending machine in an antique store, but it also has an interesting history. They first appeared in 1928, and 2 years prior, a clerk with the LAPD, William Rowe, fashioned one out of a confiscated moonshine still and a cigar box. He patented this process and developed it over time. This one has 7 poles, the original mirror, and storage down below. If you look carefully, you can see the 1970s retailer permit decals affixed to this machine. A piece of furniture that would fit nicely in your entryway, segue to a dining room, or even a bedroom with the Queen Anne legs. This bowed front dresser is priced at $500. It would be great storage for your tabletop collection. And it pairs nicely with this quadruplate tea set. Brass bookends, that's something that you find in many homes from the mid-century. We had this exact pair with a scallop shell. My mother was from Galveston. We had many seashells, priced at $50. This would hold cookbooks nicely. You could use it as a doorstop or simply a decorative accent. A French dresser with faux burled wood. It's priced at $375, and there's also a companion piece that matches it. And a steamer trunk. This is a very interesting piece. Priced at $125. That is actually an exceptional price. I've seen them for a lot more in antique shops. I enjoyed all the interesting finds in this booth and the history that we can learn from each of these pieces, and ways to upcycle items and incorporate them into our home decor. Here we get some interesting ideas with natural elements and ways to embellish them. You might give something a second look when you realize how you can add your own style to it. And the secretary, which is a very famous piece of furniture. I have talked at length about the history of this in a recent visit to Bluebird Circle. Priced at $625. I can see milk and cookies with this milk glass. And that blue shade is quite interesting, either Imperial or Westmoreland. Those brass goblets are fun. You could do a centerpiece with those, a floral arrangement. And this Limoges tankard would also make a great side table arrangement, priced at $95. This reminds me of Germany. And they are definitely ready for fall. And I love a gate leg table. It fits anywhere and quite practical. And beautiful Imari. Priced at $300. I'll tell you more about this. This Japanese Imari charger is from about 1870. What a great find. I can see this on display, or perhaps you can place a beautiful vase on top for a centerpiece. Let's take a look at some of their creative displays here. You'll notice all of the rich colors of fall that come together and make quite a statement. And let's talk more about this unique plate. This German plate reminds me of a visit to the Titiladen in St. Ingbert, Germany. You may have seen in a previous segment where I share the history of tin. And this sort of a rustic theme that leads us to an interesting way to repurpose antlers and add to your decor. Bring a natural element into your traditional decor with some embellishment for a refined and elegant look. We are in Texas, and you often find antlers, but they're a bit boring with a plain wooden plaque. And this is definitely a way to elevate this with designer fabrics. My daughter has one in her room that's painted copper that adds interest and goes with her decor. And this is definitely on trend, and I love the creativity. A Scandinavian hope chest with the folk art style of painting. This is 19th century. It's priced at $1,340. And when you're shopping Round Top, make sure you stop by Brenham Antique Center. You might find their prices to be better than some of the sellers there. And you have a nice variety here. A staple in many American kitchens. This is something that streamlined the cooking process for many families. And I will tell you some of the history of this very well-known piece of kitchen furniture. The Hoosier cabinet is said to have saved the American housewife many miles of steps, with everything close at hand for meal preparation. It was first made by the Sellers Furniture Company in 1898 in Indiana, the Hoosier State, and that's how it got its nickname.
The Hoosier Manufacturing Company was the largest producer of these. It reached its peak in the 1920s, and I'll show you one interesting feature. Lots of practical touches, including a tin-lined drawer. This would keep bread fresh, especially in humid climates.
There's a unique find hiding way up high. It will have you reaching for Mardi Gras beads. A rather unusual item that doesn't come on the market too often. It's priced at about $5,000.
Remember to look up. You never know what you'll find, something wonderful and whimsical. This is part of a Mardi Gras float, a tradition that dates back to the 1700s in New Orleans. It's from the Krewe of Iris, and that parade route starts at the intersection of Napoleon Avenue and South Saratoga Street. It does go down to St. Charles Avenue, where I've watched the parade from Al Copeland's private viewing stand back in the 90s. There is a premier float maker in New Orleans, Kern Studios, that most likely made this piece. They are made for one season and then recycled.
The hurricane lamp was once a necessity before electricity. It was invented in 1780 by François-Pierre Aragon, the son of a Swiss watchmaker. And that tall chimney is by design to protect the flame during high winds or a draft. And this is a great example, the cranberry coin dot, $3.55. It is exquisite. This blue opalescent is another great example of fine craftsmanship from the Victorian era, priced at $3.15. These were also often used on ships as a storm lantern, but probably not the pretty versions that we're seeing. And the satin glass and that fantastic cobalt. I just love all of these. Priced at $165. If you're a collector, this is a great source. Many great choices. And they also give us an idea of something else to do with the flame. Make your own candles using vintage vessels. They have kits that you can purchase. This sherbet dish has a new life. This is a newer item from Villeroy-en-Boch in the French garden pattern. Priced at $20. You've got a great hostess gift. And a fun activity. This is something that I've done on the channel. You've probably seen a visit to a candle maker where we filled some vessels. Beautiful displays here. And of course, I'm drawn to the blue and white. And this creamer would be ideal for a syrup pitcher. You probably recognize this as Fostoria, made for Avon. We have some patriotic pieces in that collection with a George and Martha set of goblets and some lovely art glass. Blue goes with just about anything. My favorite shade. Wonderful groupings of collections. And a pair of stained glass panels with a tulip design. That reminds me of some of our viewers from the Netherlands who share their beautiful tables and decor in our Facebook group, Lady Mary Beth's Table. I invite you to join us there. I'll put a link in the video description. And these are priced at $230. Milk glass is the little black dress of Tabletop. You can dress it up or dress it down. Makes a great gift as well. Cranberry hobnail opalescent from Fenton. This would look amazing on a brunch table filled with berries. Price at $62. And now we'll look at an interesting collection, beautifully displayed. You probably recognize this style. And we're finding more of this because we have vendors that travel to Europe and bring it back. And an interesting plate that was made for one food item specifically. And I will tell you more about the history of this design. And some utensils that were made just for this. This is actually very practical to have cocktail forks on hand for many different dishes. And also spreaders, which are great for tea time. You just never know when you'll need those. Now let's have a closer look at this classic plate.
Oyster plates became popular in the Victorian era when oysters on the half shell were served in society dinners as a symbol of wealth and worldliness. They were usually removed from those shells to serve on these beautiful plates so as not to scratch them. This is a classic geometric style, which means evenly placed wells with the divot in the center for sauce. You could also place a lemon wedge. There are two other styles, a turkey and kidney shape. We'll have to look for those in our next shopping adventure.
The turkey oyster plate is quite interesting, and it does not exactly look like a turkey. It's inspired by that shape. And this plate has a beautiful back stamp with a castle. It is from Gien.
Some great examples of French oyster plates from Zagemun and Gien, a company that is still in operation today and owned by Baccarat.
Many unique pieces, and I have my eye on the Majolica pineapple.
Majolica is tin glazed earthenware that's been colorfully decorated. Dates back to the Renaissance in Italy, where it was called istoriato, where it had historical and mythical designs. Most of what we see today is from the Victorian era and early 20th century. I've shared lots of history in a previous segment. In a visit to Nothing Ordinary Antiques in Belleville, I invite you to take a look at that. There were many English manufacturers with Majolica, including Minton, Wedgwood, Royal Doulton, and George Jones, and they were impressed with a maker's mark. In Germany, Villeroy&Boch manufactured many pieces for the Jugendstil era or Art Nouveau, and in Austria, they were made by Julius Dressler.
The rummage sale sign reminds me of our upcoming segment at Houston's oldest rummage sale, the Pink Elephant Sale. It is epic. You'll have to tune in for that one. A perfect pair of bergère chairs with a caned back and the blue upholstery. These would fit right with my decor. Love these. Could go in a bedroom as well. $480. And the Victorian lamp. Again, we have that hurricane style, but a bit of a more upscale look for a living space, especially in the Victorian era. $295. And another unique find that I'm pleased to share with you, something that changed the way retailers did business. It is a thing of beauty, and of course was quite useful. And it's all about the cash. If we look carefully, we see that brass plate. And I'll tell you more about the history of this. We even have a serial number, the years it was patented. It's a fascinating bit of history.
This nickel, bronze, and marble beauty represents one of the first modern American companies and changed the way that businesses manage retail sales. In 1880, brothers James and John Ritty developed the first mechanical cash register for James's Saloon in Dayton, Ohio. James was inspired by the ship's propeller on a steamboat trip in Europe. He had a hard time managing the saloon and his growing business with a cash register. In 1884, he sold his patents and interest in the company to a newly formed business, National Cash Register, that we know as NCR today. They were acquired by AT&T in 1991 and last year split into two companies. But we did see this in many stores up until about 1915. They didn't have quite the production because metal was needed for the war effort.
And I always like to look for the small items. And this has my interest, of course, because it's the very well-known blue willow pattern. It is perfection. And quite an old piece. This tile could be used as a trivet or an item of interest.
This is a rare antique blue willow tile from Thomas Minton, the potter who worked together with Thomas Turner, the engraver, to develop this blue willow pattern based on the Nanking design, one of the Chinese exports. And I just love this piece of history and chinoiserie, priced at $24.
If you have more of a primitive, rustic, or farmhouse style, there's some great furniture pieces here for you, including a golden oak Hoosier cabinet, which was more of the authentic that you would find around the 1920s in most kitchens. And this would work well for a craft room. It doesn't have to be placed in a kitchen. Some great storage, can stay organized. Priced at $610. Lots of Hoosier cabinets. If you're working from home, perhaps you need a desk. A laptop would fit nicely on this vintage piece with the Queen Anne legs and great seating. And this is a character you probably recognize. There was once upon a time a piece of wood in the shop of an old carpenter named Master Antonio. A sweet Italian story that Disney made famous.
Carved from a single piece of wood, Pinocchio stands at 5 feet tall. Of course, you know Pinocchio as a fictional character in a book, The Adventures of Pinocchio, written by the Italian Carlo Collodi of Florence, and he's known for his long nose, which grows when he tells lies.
Galvanized metal is generally rust resistant and durable. Some pieces do show wear over time, especially in a humid climate. Why not upcycle it and make it into something useful and beautiful to add to your decor, especially if you have a rustic style. It's quite labor intensive to do all this cutting. It's priced at $450. And this hurricane would be amazing with a candle for al fresco, poolside entertaining. You could be round top ready with all these great finds, cowboy hats, ways to embellish them. This is definitely the style. And round top is about 25 minutes down the road, so you're almost there, and the big antique show is twice a year. Rocks and minerals, I love that they have this in an antique shop. My kids have been antiquing with me since they were 3 weeks old, and this is something that they would have absolutely loved. I see some interesting things here, including a toll tray and some Asian art. This could anchor a room, and those bright, brilliant colors are ideal. And something from my childhood there, along with a floor-length mirror. I'll tell you about the history of this. In a word you probably have heard before, but didn't quite understand the meaning of. Priced at $175, which I think is a great deal.
Cheval-style mirrors are practical and sometimes hard to find. They were first invented in Paris in the 18th century for Marie Antoinette to use at Versailles because it pivots and you can see yourself at different angles. It is called cheval, which is French for horse, because it can stand on its own 4 legs.
This takes the cake. I absolutely adore square cake pedestals, and milk glass goes with every taste and style. And a chip and dip that reminds of the mid-century, priced at $22. That suspended dip bowl is actually a space saver for your buffet table. A rice canister, priced at $30. This is Cornish ware from England, from T.G. Green and Company. Sugar, flour, and rice I would definitely use. The oatmeal, I would probably turn it around and fill it with cookies, and that way you don't see the label. So many great finds. I'm thrilled for the Brenham Antique Center to have had their grand opening now, and just love this swan pedestal bowl priced at $230. You'll have to come take a look.
So glad you joined me today for the Brenham Antique Center, opening September 14th. Found some wonderful treasures and learned some history along the way. Thanks again for joining Lady Mary Bath. Elevate your everyday with antique shopping.